Good day, everyone. Welcome to Earth and Life Science class. This is Ma'am Roseville, your teacher for today's session. Are you now ready? Let's begin. Our topic for today is all about benefits of genetically modified organisms. Let's start. Our objectives. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to, number one, enumerate the benefits of genetically modified organisms, and number two, express one's perception in the use of GMO. Previously, we talked about the process of genetic engineering. And to refresh your mind, let us try to answer 5 multiple choice questions from our last topic. Are you now ready? Number 1. How long does it take to develop a new genetically modified crop? A. 20 years, B. 10 years, C. 5 years, D. 1 year. If your answer is letter B, then you are correct. Number 2. Can scientists predict with certainty where an inserted gene will go on a plant chromosome? A. With modern genetic techniques, scientists can insert genes precisely. B. Genes are inserted on the proper chromosome, but there is no control on where it goes on the chromosome. C. Scientists have a general idea of where the gene will go and what it will do to the plant. D. It's just a shot in the dark. Can you guess the answer? The answer is letter D. Number 3. As a result of genetically modified crops, chemical use on farm has A. Gone up dramatically, B. Gone down dramatically, C. Gone up on some but no change on others, D. Gone down on some crops but there is little or no change on others. What's your answer? The answer is letter D. Number 4. When did crops become resistant to herbicides? A. Crops have always been resistant to some herbicide. B. After the introduction of BT corn in 1997. C. After the introduction of Roundup Ready soybeans in 1996. And D. Crops are not resistant to herbicides. What is the answer? What do you think is the answer? If your answer is letter A, then you are correct. Number 5. Can genes escape from genetically modified crops and jump to the other plants? A. Only to some crops, but those crops aren't genetically modified. B. Only during rare climatic conditions. C. Yes, and often do. D. No. Genes cannot move from species to species without human intervention. Can you guess the answer? The answer is letter C. If you got the perfect score of 5, then you did a great job. Continue doing it. Class, I will be showing you different food labels. I want you to look at it carefully and tell me what do you see or what do you notice in the different pictures. So here it is. Okay. What do these labels mean to you? Are you familiar with all these food labels? Like the real fruit, the USDA organic, you have there the hormone-free, certified grass-fed, 100% natural, and gluten-free. So, do they have something in common? If your answer is all about the different organic products, then you are correct. Class, when you are in the grocery store or in the market, have you seen these labels? Yan, the non-GMO project verified or the made with non-GMO ingredients. Are there any food labels that could be misleading or meaningless to you? Let's find out. These are the crops that have been genetically modified. Alfalfa, canola, corn, field and sweet, cotton, papaya, potatoes, soybeans, squash, sugar beets, and Granny Smith apple. So take note of the following examples of genetically modified products. Let us proceed with the benefits of GMOs as well as the risk of GMOs. Nutritional value of foods could be improved, example, by introducing proteins, vitamins, or vaccines. Crops can be produced that lack known allergens. Crops can grow in arid conditions for better yield, example, by introducing drought-resistant genes. Genetically modified crops can produce herbicides to kill pests, improve food supply, agriculture in poor countries. Genetically modified crops can be engineered for improved yields. Genetically modified crops may have longer shelf lives to lessen food spoilage. Reduces economic cost and carbon footprint less, need for land and clearing and pesticides usage to improve air quality. While on the risk of GMOs, let's say the disadvantages of GMOs, nutrients could cause adverse health reactions. Example, new proteins may cause allergic responses. Removal of traits could have unknown effects. Crops may limit biodiversity of local environment, increase competition with native species. Cross-pollination could lead to superweeds. Patents restrict farmers from accessing genetically modified seeds. Biotech companies hold monopolies over crop use. Foods with genetically modified components may not be labeled. And different governments may have conflicting regulatory standards concerning safe usage. And to further understand the benefits of GMOs, here, let us continue. The possible benefits of genetic engineering include the production of more nutritious food, tastier food, disease and drought-resistant plants that require fewer environmental resources, such as water and fertilizer, less use of pesticides, increased supply of food with reduced cost and longer shelf life, faster growing plants and animals, and the last one, food with more desirable traits such as potatoes that produce less of a cancer-causing substance when fried. So these are the possible benefits of genetically modified organisms. So it's up to us whether we will be in favor of using a lot of products of GMOs or we will stick with the organic ones. So here's the GMO crop table. As you can see, there are three columns. In the first column, you have the example of the GM crop. Then on the second column, you have the GM trait. And then on the third column, you have the crop use. So I want you to go over with the examples of the GMO product that is in the table so that you can familiarize yourselves with all these examples. I'll just read some of them, okay? So let's say, for example, we have the summer squash. So the GM trait that is injected in that crop is the disease resistance. So crop use, of course, the food. Same with soybean. So the GM trait found in the soybean is the insect resistance as well as the herbicide tolerance. So the crop use, livestock, poultry, fish, fish feed, soybean oil, biodiesel fuel, soy milk, soy sauce, tofu, and other foods, adhesives, pet foods, and printing ink. Same with canola. So the GM trait also that is injected is the herbicide tolerance. That the crop use is the animal feed and the cooking oil. And then for the apple, the GM trait that can be found in the apple is the non-browning. Of course, the crop use is food. Class, GMOs are plants with one or more genetic characteristics that were inserted into the genome using biotechnology. GMOs are not plants that were improved through artificial selection processes like crossbreeding, hybridization, or mutagenesis. Now, if we're going to differentiate a GMO from an organic material, when we talk about of GMO, it is the product of a laboratory procedure which involves artificial combination of differing genes, while an organic material, it is the description for products which were not processed and yielded through chemical-free fertilizers and pesticides. So I hope, class, that these things are already clear to you. But then again, if you still like a particular brand without the non-GMO claim, it is less expensive than another. All you have to do is to check the ingredients. If the product doesn't contain canola, corn, soy, sugar, or ingredients derived from them, you can feel sure or certain that it does not have GMO. So, it's up to you. So, what do you think, class? Are you in favor of using the GMO products or not? So, whatever is your decision, it's up to you. Just take note that all of these things are created for a better quality of life. In addition, let's try to compare and contrast growing a GMO crop and growing a non-GMO crop. So the common trait for the two is that desired traits can be identified and perpetuated. So for the growing a GMO crop, desired traits can be fairly quickly identified in less than 10 years, while for growing a non-GMO crop, desired traits can be identified. It may take a significant amount of time, a decade maybe, and then a GMO crop, plants can become genetically resistant to disease or pest. While a non-GMO crop, disease and pest are controlled with chemicals or other cultivation practices. Then, the last one for the GMO crop, scientists can find a single specific trait and insert it into the DNA. For a non-GMO crop, desired traits cannot be perpetuated individually, because in a GMO crop, a desired trait is injected. So, the common thing about a GMO crop and a non-GMO crop is that life cycle and growth of plant is equivalent. Then, the last one, of course, both of a GMO crop and a non-GMO crop, safety and nutrition of plant is equal. For a GMO regulation process, it takes many years for a new GM crop to be developed, tested, and finally approved for commercial release. Prior to the release of a new GM crop, it is tested and monitored by three primary agencies in the United States: the Food and Drug Administration, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the Environmental Protection Agency. We all know, class, that the United States of America is the largest country that produces much of a GM crops. Food and Drug Administration. So FDA regulates the safety of food for humans and animals, including foods produced from genetically engineered plants. Foods from GE plants must meet the same food safety requirements as foods derived from traditionally bred plants. Another agency responsible for the safety usage of a GM crop is the Environmental Protection Agency, or what we call EPA. The EPA focuses on reviewing environmental impacts of a GE crop prior to field testing and the commercial release of the seed. They ensure there are no intended consequences to honeybees, other beneficial insects, earthworms, fish, or the environment in general. They also look for any impact they need on other crops. So meaning to say, these are all safe because it has been tested, it has been approved by the different agency or department, just to make sure that all of these products are safe. So hope that you understand our lesson for today's session, wherein it is for us, no? We all benefit from the genetically modified crops. So hope that you learned something for today's lesson. To test whether you learned something from our lesson, let's have an activity. This is known as fact or fiction. Are you now ready? Let's begin. Direction. Identify whether the following statements are fact or fiction. Number 1. GMOs are created by injecting chemicals into food after it is harvested. Is it a fact or fiction? The answer is fiction. Why? Because GMOs are developed through genetic engineering, where scientists identify and insert specific traits into the DNA of the seed before it is ever planted. The plant grows just like conventional or the non-GMO seeds. The transgenic trait is then transferred to other varieties. Number 2, after a GMO is developed, it is thoroughly evaluated by the USDA, FDA, and EPA to identify unintended consequences to the environment or to our health if consumed. Is it a fact or fiction? The answer is fact. Why? Again, it takes many years for a GMO to be approved, first for field testing and second for commercial production. Number 3, GMOs are not directly linked to being cause for cancer. Is it a fact or fiction? And the answer is fact. Because GM crop varieties pose no greater risk of increasing the risk of cancer than their conventional counterparts. Number 4, studies show that GMOs are linked to an increase in allergies. Is it a fact or fiction? The answer is fiction. Why? Because 90% of all allergies are caused by peanuts, tree nut, milk, eggs, wheat, soy, shellfish, and fish. To date, only soy even has a genetically modified variety. Number 5. Health studies about safety of consuming genetically modified crops are less than 20 years. Is it a fact or fiction? The answer is fact. GM crops have only been in production since 1996. While studies have shown they are safe, their scope is limited to the amount of time they have been in production and use. Okay, again, if you got a perfect score of 5 over 5, then you did a great job. Before we end the session, let me give you your assignment. This is known as Enter a Question. As a homework assignment, you need to visit GMO Answers website and enter a question about GMOs. Find at least 3 questions or topics that interest you and write a response to each question using your own words that you learn and understand in our today's lesson. That's it for today. Thank you and God bless. This is your teacher, Ma'am Roseville Sanchez. God bless and see you again.